And look, we are filming today, and the reason is because what I've found increasingly is that there's so many people who need this information, and I'm just one of a variety of people who are out there who can give you information that you need. Because Harriet said, what was it that there were two things.
Just because you're not sick doesn't mean you're healthy.
Just because you're not sick doesn't mean you're healthy. And I have found that so much in practice. And I can give you vignettes galore about that. And one of the reasons that we're here, and it's, what was it your Aunt Sadie or whatever said?
Today is your tomorrow.
Yeah. And today is your tomorrow. And with those two things, look, the reason that I do these things, the reason that Harriet and I both are on a mission is because, number one, we care about your tomorrow. And I know from experience, having started out as an anesthesiologist, gone back and retrained as a dermatologist, what I know, I've seen the suffering in the operating room, and I've seen the suffering as I went back and retrained much more in internal medicine, and even in dermatology, where it's not just about cosmetics, it's also about, you know, people with their skin rashes. And when people say to me, this brown spot is ruining my life, well, number one, where did that brown spot come from? And I can tell you that, and there's a lot you can do to prevent that. But also a lot of times that brown spot is ruining your life in many ways. And so my job is to get rid of suffering on many different levels. And it's part of why I'm doing these things and I'm excited to do them and why we're filming it. So there may have to be a little film change in the middle of this thing, so just be patient with us as we do that. But we're going to start off, and Harriet's going to keep me on track and talk about, because when I was here before, I gave a lot more about the why. And what I'm trying to do now, and the reason, you know, we brought supplements this time and skin products this time is because people, we learn from experience, and we learn, people want to know, okay, how do I get on the journey? What do I need to do? Step one, step two, what do I need to do to protect myself, to have a greater insurance policy, basically, for health, never mind beauty. And from health does come beauty in men, in women, in children. A couple of things, and we're going to start out with food is your medicine, and that is a number one very important thing. Now, I tell people, look, I'm from the South. In the South, we believe in how do you eat, drink, make merry, and not suffer the consequences, because life is not meant to be deprivation, and health is not about deprivation, okay? It's just about knowledge is power and making informed choices. And by making those informed choices, you also have the opportunity to really change the world in many ways, because industry changes when people vote with their actions and their pocketbooks, okay? And so we want to make the world a healthier place. And here's a perfect rationale of why. Some powerful information is they've done studies on fetuses when they were doing different testing to see what was going on with genetics with fetuses, and they found that fetuses are already infused, carrying around over 100 different really toxic chemicals, okay? Before you're even barely developed, basically. So number one, and one of the big missions now is to try to get people before, when they're thinking about getting pregnant, is get healthy for about a year before you get pregnant, okay? And that's the mother being pregnant, being healthy, number one, because you want to give the baby a healthy start. But more importantly is the world we live in today's world. And I've just come from Canada from a very intensive how do we create health in a more substantial way in today's world meeting. And the problem is we live in such a toxic world nowadays, and we didn't used to see the diseases that we see, okay? We didn't used to see the skin problems that we see. We didn't see the degree of things. And the obesity epidemic, it's not just about you are what you eat, although certainly that's a huge part of it, but it's also about another very frightening fact that in the U.S., virtually every baby is born with these greatly enlarged adrenal glands. The adrenal glands sit on top of your kidneys. They are absolutely the core, one of the most important organs in your body because they govern how do you handle stress, your immune system, aging, how all your organs function. They then feed back and affect your thyroid, okay? What they found is that the mothers nowadays are so stressed and depleted, and it's not just our crazy lives and, you know, trying to get too many things done in one day. If you're living in Los Angeles, trying to get from point A to point B so you can get one thing done in a day. But it's also all the electromagnetic energy we're bombarded with. Cell phones, all of our computers. I mean, everything, we're bombarded constantly. We can't help it. It's part of what keeps us going in the world, keeps us in touch with people. So you can't prevent those things, but what you can do is mitigate the impact of those things, okay? So these babies are born with these incredibly enlarged pathological adrenal glands, and for the rest of their lives, they are going to have adrenal issues which feed back and will cause them problems in perpetuity, okay? So we need to get the mother's adrenal glands right first so that we can then keep the babies from being negatively impacted. And if their adrenals are bad, then the other thing is the baby lives off the mother's adrenals, the mother's thyroid the first 3 months of life. And so if the mother's thyroid is low, because the mother's adrenals are low, then the baby's thyroid is low in perpetuity, men and women. We didn't used to see the epidemic of low thyroid that we see now. You never used to see it in men because testosterone protects against it. But now we're seeing it in young children that you never used to see it. And it's because the mother's adrenals are low, their thyroid is low. And so with girl children, estrogen depresses thyroid function. So once they get to be a teenager, start menstruating, what happens is they then become hypothyroid. It impacts them in school, it impacts ADD, it impacts acne. We never used to see the degree of acne that we see nowadays and how bad acne is in today's world. And that's all about the adrenals, the thyroids, the immune system, as well as you are what you eat, and food is your medicine. So there's a lot that you can do, and part of what my message is, and what Harriet has inspired me to do in a greater way in places like this, is to come and talk about what can you do. And because tell your friends, tell everybody that you care about. When patients come into my office, I say, look, if you love your husband, make him do this, you know, and they're always asking me about, so I'm usually writing, when people see me in my office, for the husband, the patient, if it's the wife, the children, whatever, because it applies to everybody, so tell your friends. That's what is going to save us in today's world from the toxicity that we're all accumulating, whether we like it or not, no matter how hard we try. Perfect example, and then I'll move forward. I had a patient in one of the places that I go and see patients that he was the picture of health. He exercised like crazy. He was robust. He ate all the right things. And he was a happy person. He didn't have all this emotional overlay. And he called me about a rash. And so as it turned out, that rash, you know, I knew it was a fungal rash. It looked like a classic fungal rash. But as it turned out, that rash was just the beginning of so much that was deposited in his body that none of us could have previewed. His blood work wasn't that bad. There were little things here and there, but nothing that anybody would have thought about. I don't care if it was a naturopath, a traditional doctor, nobody. If you put us all together, we wouldn't have come up with this, okay? And so it is merely the things that we accumulate in today's world as we go through life. And Mrs. Thornhill didn't have to deal with that. They were eating healthier food, and they didn't have the stress and the electromagnetic and all the different toxins and chemicals that are in things nowadays. So we care about you for quality longevity. And so that's why we talk about hormones, all those sort of things. So we're going to touch on all that. So let's start with food is your medicine, okay? So number one, and I'm just going to run through a what do you need to do list. There's a lot more information and an increasing amount of information that will be on my website that I put up, that I'm making it as if you came to see me in my office website. And I'm trying to make it work for everybody. That's JuliaTHunterMD.com, which is all over the paperwork that you've got. Number one, food is your medicine, and it really is. I'm an eat right for your blood type person, okay? And the reason is, and in medicine there is no what's right for you, what's right for me, what's right for most of you in this room. We're all different. There is no one dose of anything that fits everybody. But overall, eat right for your blood type is a huge amount, 50 plus years of research behind it. And what it impacts is this: genetically, there are certain blood types developed historically. O type is the caveman's blood type, okay? Then came A, then came B, and then came AB. There are certain things that you should not eat depending on what your blood type is. And why? Because they inflame you. Inflammation's the cause of all disease and aging. So you don't want to be spending your money and your time on what's making you worse than life is, okay? That's increasing your risk of disease. Now, does this mean you can never eat wrong for your blood type? No. It means that overall you're good, because the reason to be good is so we can be bad sometimes. And so, but also to be conscious. And I have patients who say to me, who I have to cajole on many occasions to eat right for their blood type. I say, just take a month and go to boot camp. Okay, and in that month you eat right, you're religious about eating right for your blood type. What they tell me is I never realized, and routinely I get this, I never realized how bad I felt until I ate right for my blood type for a month. And now I recognize what feeling good really is, okay? And so that incentivizes you. It gives you a consciousness moment to say, okay, here's what my body wants. Here's what happens when I deviate from that. So it gives you more self-discipline, which none of us have enough of, nor do we really want to, but quite honestly, it's just here's the facts, deal with them, okay? But it just that makes you feel better and recognize when you're doing things that are wrong, okay? So on my website, there's a foods to avoid list that are the worst offenders for your blood type. There's a book that's called Eat Right for Your Blood Type. Dr. Peter D'Adamo. The research started with his father, who's Mrs. Thornhill's generation. He was one of the great scientists, and it's your gut gets inflamed, okay? The vast majority of your immune system is concentrated along your gut, and there's a reason for that. Because, first of all, with every morsel of food we eat, and people don't think about this, but our food is in no way sterile or clean. Okay, even the president. Everybody's eating food. With every morsel of food we eat, it's full of bacteria, viruses, and fungus. Okay, so what? It doesn't really matter if the hydrochloric acid in your stomach is functioning. Okay, certain blood types don't make enough hydrochloric acid. So if you don't have hydrochloric acid, you can eat fresh picked organic right out of the garden, and you're still not going to break it down. Food's going to then become an irritant. As it leaves the stomach and goes into the small intestine, it starts irritating and inflaming and burning your gut. Your gut gets edematous. It gets swollen basically, and then it doesn't absorb things well. So even if you're taking a boat full of vitamins, even if you are eating all the right things, you're not necessarily absorbing them, so you start to starve to death, and then that feeds back on different organ systems. And the skin, in the vein of cosmetics, the skin is the last place the body will pay attention and dedicate its nutrients and energy to. If the other more important organs need nutrition first. And so what does that do cosmetically? It makes you age more quickly, okay? If your gut's inflamed, you get gas, you get bloating, you get constipation, you age more quickly, you get brown spots, your pores get enlarged, you get rosacea. So you see how it's the domino effect in the body, and it starts out with food as your medicine. One of the things Harriet's always saying to me is distill it to its essence. What I say to people is green, green, and more green, the more green the better, okay? But all green is not right for all blood types. So the book, all you have to do is read your chapter. And it's when you do that, just that will make you feel better. People have arthritis, it decreases your inflammation. People have weight struggles, it makes it better. Is it magic? Is it the magic bullet? There is no magic bullet. The body's a very complicated piece of equipment, and people say to me on a regular basis, well, you know, Joe Blow does all the wrong things. Well, yeah, there are some people who can do all the wrong things. They live long, they never have a problem. Why is that? Nobody knows that for sure. Is it genes? Well, they've shown that you can have the world's worst genes. You can have all the cancer genes, okay? But you don't get cancer if you are overall keeping yourself healthy. And keeping yourself healthy in today's world is a much bigger job. But it's a job that doesn't have to consume you. It doesn't have to be a burden. It's just knowing, which again is why we're here, okay? So eat right for your blood type, green, green, and more green, the more green the better, because what do you care about is your body wants to be alkaline on the inside. That's anti-disease. It helps decrease your risk of cancer. When you're acidic on the inside, it depresses your immune system. You're much more likely to develop cancers than if you're alkaline on the inside, okay? So green, 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 drinking water really matters, okay? And so you want to drink 2 liters of water a day. You try to, okay? It matters. When you're here and you're sweating more, you need to drink more basically, but at least 2 liters of water a day. Green tea, very anti-inflammatory, good for everybody, really good for your skin, anti-aging, okay? Sodas are a huge no-no. Now, there are other things that you can drink instead. Why are sodas bad for you? Full of sugar, and over the years, all of us who've been testing people for allergies, I have never seen one person who wasn't allergic to sugar. Now, it's not that, again, we can never eat those things, but overall, sweet ages you. When your blood sugar is high, the body interprets it as poison, basically. It tries to attach it to proteins, it acidifies you, and it wrinkles you more, okay? It inflames you. You're more likely to get brown spots. So the less sugar, the better. The big offenders that you need to try to avoid overall. And what I say to people is, look, save the bad things that you eat for really good bad things, okay? I mean, it's not that I never eat a cake, and it's not that I never am bad. I have my glass of wine. I certainly, if somebody's gonna give me some really good homemade something, I'm eating it. But gluten is nobody's friend, okay? And that's wheat. And so most people are violently allergic to it. And even if you don't really perceive it, it's inflaming your gut, it's aging you, it's acidifying you, it's decreasing your immune system functioning. So what are the alternatives? Because you can't just say no to people. What are the alternatives? First of all, in some blood types, 100% rye is a better choice, okay? Quinoa, there's buckwheat, brown rice, wild rice are better choices. White rice is gluten. I know we're in the low country, but white rice is basically gluten. So wheat is nobody's friend. The less wheat you eat, the better. There are plenty of, and increasingly there are, and I'm sure there's somebody here who's doing it, is they're using chestnut flour to cook with. They're using almond flour to cook with. You have to adjust your recipes a little bit, okay? Because some of them are harder, and so and depending on being in humidity or not, you have to adjust your recipes with a little bit more liquid. But those are really good alternatives. The other thing is the sodas, because they are so full of sugar, and also because all they do is acidify you. And when you're acidified, why is there so much osteoporosis in the world? You didn't used to see it so much in men, and now you see it equally in men as with women, is because when you're acidic, it's sucking the calcium out of your bones in order to buffer the acid. And so the more green you eat, you're buffering that acid, you're keeping yourself alkaline. Now on the surface of your skin, you want to be acidic because bacteria, viruses, and fungus are hitting our skin 24/7, and that acid layer on the surface of the skin keeps our skin from getting infected, basically, okay? Decreases the risk of inflammation. It's why I use vitamin C. It's why I'm very much about none of the inflammatory chemicals. That list of chemicals to avoid is on my website as well, ingredients to avoid, because what those things are doing is inflaming you and increasing your risk of getting skin infections, okay? And it matters when that mosquito is biting you. And that's why you see, in certain populations, you see people who get big inflammatory areas after they've been bitten by things. And so all that keeping your skin acidic on the surface is good for that, okay? So green, protein. Now, O-type blood loves protein, but fatty protein's not good for anybody, okay? So turkey is always a much better choice than even chicken. First of all, it should be organic. And if you've been to any of the chicken houses or whatever, or seen how, and just looked at any of you really want to eat organic. It's not that hard for people to grow organic nowadays. And so it's better not to eat as much and to eat organic. The other thing is grass-fed with your beef. And when you go to a restaurant, it matters when repetitively they're hearing a good customer say, is this meat grass-fed? Is this lamb grass-fed? Because they're more likely to get grass-fed, okay? So you're changing, you're making a positive impact. With fish, you always ask them if is it wild caught, okay? Now, one of the things about fish and salmon, one of the best things that anybody can eat, but it really needs to be wild caught, because depending on what they feed them, they may have no omega-3s in there, and you think you're eating omega-3s and you're not getting any omega-3s, okay? They put colorants in a lot of farm-raised fish. The farm-raised fish industry is changing because everybody's asking for wild-raised or wild-caught fish, and they're starting to feed things with things that can replicate wild-caught, so it's healthier. So again, by asking those things at the restaurant and when you go to the grocery store, it really does matter. So green, omega-3s, okay? Omega-3s are one of the most important things you can do. Very anti-inflammatory. Again, life is an inflammatory event. Look, we die, we are born alkaline, we die acidic. We used to be born not inflamed, we're increasingly born inflamed, but what ages us and basically does us in is inflammation, okay? So omega-3s are very anti-inflammatory. You get those in primarily fish, okay, halibut, in salmon, in fattier fishes. You don't want to eat tuna. Sadly, the oceans are increasingly full of heavy metals. In California, we've got all the radiation coming down from Japan. And so, what do we eat in today's world? You got to eat something. But the bottom line is fish is still a better choice. We can check you for heavy metals and get rid of those, okay? And you need those omega-3s. You should take omega-3s. But eating as far as fish, turkey, chicken, skinless overall is a better choice because the fat is not good for anybody. Olive oil, instead of cooking with butter, you should cook with olive oil, okay? Olive oil is good for everybody. It does not make you fat, okay? Now, some blood types like coconut oil, but other blood types, it inflames them, which is why I go back to Eat Right for Your Blood Type. Read your chapter. It won't take you long. And then goat butter is a better choice than cow's butter. Now, I told you that wheat is something that nobody should eat. The other thing is cow's milk is not good for anybody, okay? And increasingly, if you look at some of the Horizon milks and some of these that are organic, and you've got to be a smart consumer nowadays, knowledge is power. If you look at it, they're ultra pasteurized. Ultra pasteurized is completely, it just inflames you more than just drinking the regular pasteurized milk. And the reason they did that is because it can sit on the shelf for months and not go bad. And in that vein, really what you should limit yourself to eating is if it doesn't go bad sitting in your pantry, you don't want to eat it, okay? Because it's just full of preservatives. And so it does nothing but contribute to making you fat and more likely infuse you with those chemicals that are impacting us all in a very negative way. So cow's milk, not your friend. So what are some of the alternatives? Almond milk, but you have to be careful. You don't want sweetened because again, you want to avoid that as much as possible. There's vanilla flavor that makes it taste good, okay? But there's also soy milk. Now, with soy, you have to worry to a certain extent about, with younger people, about estrogen. We are increasingly getting estrogenized. You see men now with breast. Prostate cancer is epidemic because men's estrogen goes up as they go down the path of life. The chemicals that, pesticides, insecticides, a lot of the chemicals that are in skin products, whatever, are causing men and women to get more estrogenized. And so the more estrogen you have, the more likely you are to have breast cancer if you're over estrogenized with the wrong sort of, not all estrogen, okay? Bioidentical hormones are fine, but if you are estrogenized with the wrong estrogens, then it increases your risk of breast cancer. With men, increases their risk of prostate cancer. And in young boys now, look, they're having to go and get their extra breast removed surgically. And that's all about what we eat. Animals, you're seeing animals now who they're no longer male or female animals. And they're seeing that in plants, they're seeing it and from some of the pesticides and the things that we're putting on plants. So your choices really matter as far as your health, okay? So that's another reason you eat organic and grass-fed and organic beef, because what they're doing to grow them faster, make them fatter, is they're pumping them full of estrogen, okay? So greens, your protein, very important. Even if you're a vegetarian, a lot of vegetarians are uninformed vegetarians, and it's probably worse than not being a vegetarian if they're meant to be one. A-type blood's a better vegetarian, okay? B-type blood should not eat chicken. Absolutely. If your blood is B, you should not eat chicken. They've shown that it causes cancer. So you can eat turkey, okay? But an AB is got all the problems of A and all the problems of B, which is why you need to read your chapter, okay? And it really does matter. The other thing is enough protein. The more active you are, the more protein you need. To increase your metabolic rate, you need protein. And so protein comes also from nuts. But the nuts that are good for you are raw nuts. And all nuts are not good for every blood type. Almonds are pretty well good for everybody's blood type, okay? Walnuts are pretty much good for everybody's blood type. But cashews, Brazil nuts, some of those things are not good for every blood type. Okay, so again, just glance at your chapter because it really matters and it will impact how you feel. How you feel when you wake up in the morning, how your joints feel. With arthritis, it impacts all of that because a lot of those aches and pains are caused by eating foods that are inflaming you. Okay, foods basically are about eat right for your blood type, green, drinking plenty of water, okay? Now, let's move on to supplements. There's a reason you have to do supplements in today's world. We can't eat enough. Our soil is so depleted that even if, again, things are organic, fresh picked right out of the garden, there's not enough minerals in things. There's not enough in today's world, our stress-filled and toxin-filled world, that we can get enough nutrition to support us at the pace that we live at, okay? The number one thing is vitamin D, okay? Vitamin D is one of the most important things. They've shown that it is very anti-cancer. Again, there are no guarantees in life, but things are insurance policies. And vitamin D, even if you live down here, even if you're sun worshipers, I have sun worshipers in LA who come in, my bad patient sun worshipers as I like to call them, who come in, and when I do a vitamin D blood level, when I'm doing their blood work, we always get vitamin D blood levels. Anytime you get blood work, you ask the doctor, you request, you demand, quite honestly, to get a vitamin D blood level because you want your vitamin D blood level to be high normal. It helps protect you against certain of the cancers, pancreatic, colon, breast, prostate. It's very protective. So everybody in your household should be taking vitamin D. What I have people take overall, and the American Academy of Pediatrics came out and said that babies need 2,000 a day. In most of the vitamins that a lot of you may be taking, there's 400, okay? And so if you're not taking the right dose, you're wasting your money in many ways, okay? In a large part of the ways.
How many milligrams do you?
So what you should be taking, just a good base dose for everybody is 5,000 IUs, okay? So then you get your vitamin D blood level, because there are plenty of people who need 10,000. The more you're a cat on a hot tin roof, the more you generally need, okay? But 5,000 is a safe dose. Now, we all probably need 10,000, but the reason I can't tell you to do 10,000 is because a lot of people have problems with their livers, and it's a fat-soluble vitamin, vitamin D, and so you need to clear your liver, okay? But with 5,000, you're safe, okay? And from about age 14 on, they need 5,000 IUs a day. It's also very antiviral. It'll help protect you against the flus, the big new flu that's coming, okay? So if you're taking your vitamin D, you're less likely to get really sick, or it'll shorten the course of whatever you get, okay? Omega-3s, same thing. But again, with vitamin D, now, there's a controversy that you will read about with vitamin D now, that some people are arguing in traditional medicine that if it's higher levels, it increases your risk of kidney stones. No, vitamin D does not increase your risk of kidney stones. It's when you're acidic internally that it increases your risk of kidney stones, okay? Vitamin D helps decrease the calcium being sucked out of your bones. And so for osteoporosis, you want to be taking vitamin D as well, okay? So you want to alkalinize. That's why we go back to you are what you eat, food is your medicine, green, 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 so that you're alkalinized internally. Part of what I tell people in the vein of how do we eat, drink, make merry, and not suffer the consequences is, look, when we drink alcohol, okay, again, you want to make good choices. So red wine has resveratrol in there, okay? Red wine's a much better choice. But what happens when we drink alcohol is any sort of alcohol converts to sugar, which converts to fat, okay? And while it's converting, it acidifies you. So I say to people, look, make sure you're drinking water when you're drinking, okay? And then in Eat Right for Your Blood Type, it tells you which is the better for you, but it's always red wine. But red wine is your dessert as well. So alcohol is your dessert. So desserts are overall should be saved for being a treat sometimes, but you don't want to be drinking and be doing eating a big dessert, because then you're really putting a huge load on your body as far as handling sugar, okay? So a better choice if you want something sweet is, look, have some dark fruit like blueberries, okay? Dark chocolate, 85+%. But again, a little bit goes a long way. And the other thing that I've recently learned, because this is how industry tries to overwhelm our healthy attempts sometimes, I was in my favorite, when I have a dinner party, I'm always trying to teach people how to eat healthfully and that it can be really tasty. And so I went to get some dark chocolate to give to people at the end of dinner. And so I was talking to the man about how they make the chocolate. Well, he informed me that they now have, he proudly announced to me, he says, oh, now your 85% chocolate can be much sweeter. And I stopped and I went, and how is that? And they've got now this super glucose syrup, because with 85% chocolate, they can only put, there's only so much room in the formula for it to hold together and make chocolate. And so they've super concentrated this glucose. So again, sweet is not your friend, okay? So be aware, and it's not that you can never eat it, but be aware of what you're doing because it helps you make better choices. And if you crave sweet, that's a symptom. That's a symptom of your adrenals being low, okay? One of the number one causes, one of the number one epidemics in this country nowadays is low adrenals. So if you're craving sweets, be aware of why you're craving sweets. So it's always better to do dark fruits like blueberries, raspberries, in the summertime, plums. Yellow peaches are better than white peaches, although white peaches are certainly sweeter and we love them too. But the darker things are, the better they are for you. The darker lettuces are, the better they are for you, okay? So omega-3, so vitamin D, number one thing you take. Omega-3 is number two thing you take. And omega-3s, you can get it in fish. And I have people who say to me, yeah, well, I eat salmon every day. But if you do an omega-3 level on them, the problem is we are so inflamed, we are so moving around and stressed and whatever, and our body needs so much omega-3s that you need to take omega-3s. Anti-aging for starters, anti-brown spots. It's pro-thyroid because it requires omega-3s to transport all the vitamins and things that you take that your body needs into the cell and into the nucleus of the cell. So if you don't have it, it can't get in there to do its work. So your thyroid needs it. Your thyroid is like the power plant of your body, of your cell. So you want your thyroid to be working well. Omega-3s help that, okay? If your cholesterol's high, omega-3s, and nowadays we're doing studies on people and we see that their cholesterol, you should, if you have a cholesterol issue, you must ask your doctor, because a lot of them don't know about it, for a lipoprotein particle count, okay? What they found is we all uniquely make different sorts of cholesterol, okay? And if you don't treat the sort of cholesterol your body makes with the right drug, you're lowering the number, but not the risk, okay? Now, the other thing is, so there's different things. The other big research that is coming out now is what they have shown is that people who have high cholesterol is because their liver's inflamed. So again, what do we put in there in the way of supplements is antioxidants, okay? Because if your liver's inflamed, even if you have the cholesterol gene, whether you have the cholesterol gene or not, and I've seen it with my patients, is as you get them healthier, their cholesterol problems disappear, and everybody in their family killed over with a heart attack, a stroke, or whatever, okay? So omega-3s thin your blood, and by thinning your blood, you're decreasing your risk of heart attack and stroke, okay? So omega-3s, very important. Omega-3s do a lot of things on a variety of levels, okay? And bringing down your cholesterol is really important. And in every sort of cholesterol that everybody makes, omega-3s bring them down. So how much should you take? Because most people say to me, oh, I'm taking krill oil. Krill oil practically has no anything therapeutic in it, on top of the fact that krill are what the whales eat, and we really should care about that, okay? So a lot of people are moving away from saying that krill oil is a better choice. But with omega-3s, you add the EPA plus the DHA numbers on the side of the bottle. And what you want to take, if you've got any sort of cholesterol issues, is at least 3,000 milligrams a day of EPA plus DHA. and you've got to look at the serving size, and it tells you how many pills that EPA and DHEA number is, okay? And ideally, you take it twice a day. Take half in the morning, half in the evening. Most heart attacks and strokes happen at night. You want to take things at bedtime too. So I was asked, what about the vegetarian ones? Okay, great question. The vegetarian ones there's one that comes from seaweed now, okay? And it has a really low dose, so you have to take a whole bunch of them. And so some people say to me, vegetarians say to me, well, what about flax oil or evening primrose or whatever that are omegas as well, omega-3s as well? They are not anti-inflammatory. So what I tell my vegetarians who have cholesterol issues, beside the fact that we're trying to fix why they have those cholesterol issues, I say to them, here's what it boils down to. Sometimes you've got to do what you got to do, okay, to protect yourself. But Nordic Naturals has come out with those particular ones, and but you just have to take a whole bunch of them because you still have to have the same dose.
Right, and I'm taking a bunch of them, but the fish oil causes indigestion.
Okay, so if fish oil causes indigestion, then that means you lack hydrochloric acid in your stomach. And so you burp it back up. And they're cheap, and this brings up about why particular supplements, okay? And this is critical for everybody to know in today's world. Virtually all raw materials come from India and China now. You only want to do business with companies that every batch of raw materials that come into that vitamin factory has been tested for purity, that it is what it says it is, and that it is not contaminated with things that you don't want me to detail for you, okay? Also, there have been people who've gone around and done studies on different vitamins, and the doses, when they analyze them, the doses aren't there. What's in there is not in there. It's not the dose that it's supposed to be in there, and there are other things that are in there. When you go to a vitamin factory, depending on the quality of it, okay, which is why I've got on my website things. I mean, look, I have learned over the years, people need to know what's worth spending your money on and what's not worth spending your money on, because you got to know the dose and you've got to get the right thing that you're putting in your mouth. And so when you go to a vitamin factory, there can just be, you go into a big room and there's all these assembly lines and dust and powder and everything's going everywhere, and they're not so clean. I mean, I've toured the places I do business with because I want to know, because I'm putting in my mouth the same thing that I'm recommending to everybody. So it matters what you put in your mouth. You need to know your dosages, and you need to know what you're dealing with. Nordic Naturals is a good company for that. The other thing is, so vitamins. Okay, so vitamin D, omega-3s, and then comes the probiotics, okay? Why do you care about probiotics? I don't care how good we are about our diets. We're never going to be good enough. And so our guts are inflamed, okay? And so probiotics are like the good soldiers that are overwhelming all the bad soldiers that we eat, that if your gut's inflamed and you're eating bacteria, viruses, and fungus all the time, which we all are, including the President of the United States and everybody else, and your gut's inflamed, then what you're doing is like opening the door and asking the robbers to come in, okay? Because you're going to get populated with all this bacteria, virus, and fungus, and parasites. And parasites are a huge issue in today's world, an increasing issue that people are populated with. And they're not big roundworms and things. They are parasites that are basically going everywhere. And so the reason you care about your hydrochloric acid in your stomach, okay, is that it kills the bacteria, viruses, and fungus when we eat it, okay? It also starts the food digestion process. And so there are a couple of different ones, but how do you know if you lack it? Well, a lot of times your food will sit in your stomach. People burp a lot If they burp fish oil, it's always low hydrochloric acid digestive enzymes. But you can't just take hydrochloric acid. You have to take all the pancreatic enzymes with it because everything in the body works together. It's all in a ratio. So you want to take a complete enzyme product as well, okay? Everybody doesn't need it. Some blood types more than others. A blood type needs it more than others. But as we go down the path of life, we all need it, okay? They make us digest our food. They make us absorb our food. They make us assimilate our food. So let's move on. So the probiotics help protect us. Okay, they're bringing in the good bacteria. Those good bacteria also aid in digestion. They also decrease the inflammation that inevitably we have in our stomachs and in our intestines. And so when people tell me they have constipation, if you're not having a bowel movement twice a day, then things are not as good as you think they are. And so the Activias and all these other products that are out there, and I'm going on tape by saying this, they don't have enough in there to make any difference, okay? You've got to have a stronger dose. Is it better to eat something than nothing when it comes to probiotics? Yeah, but not if it's couched in sweet, not if it's couched in cow's milk, which so many people are allergic to, and you want to get the right dose, okay? So with probiotics, the higher the number and the more the names of organisms, the better. And then also, they have a certain energetic potential. For instance, I put in this pack that I brought the ones that even if you take antibiotics, they don't get killed, okay? Because that matters. Because when you take antibiotics, it kills everything. It kills the good, the bad, and the ugly, okay? So you've got to take the right thing. Probiotics really important. And for people who are constipated, generally between probiotics, eating right for your blood type, probiotics, then hydrochloric acid or digestive enzymes with hydrochloric acid in there, just that will generally solve their problem. If not, it's generally due to having low thyroid, which is the other cause of it, okay? So the other thing is antioxidants. It's just like you eat green, the more green, the better. The darker the green, the better. And part of that darker the green is, look, beets, even though they're sweet, beets and anything dark purple, red, Swiss chard. You want to get the red Swiss chard, not the white Swiss chard, okay? But still better than eating iceberg lettuce. Beets, they're full of polyphenols. Those polyphenols, those purple things are full of polyphenols, and polyphenols are very anti-cancer. So again, food is your medicine, okay? Very antifungal. So antioxidants. The number one antioxidant and very anti-aging, strongest antioxidant in your body is melatonin. Melatonin is not just for sleep. Melatonin is very anti-breast cancer, and it's very anti-aging, okay? So there's many reasons to take melatonin. The other problem is fluoride in toothpaste and in water. Fluoride poisons your pineal gland, okay? And so you need, if your pineal gland's not kicking out melatonin, then it increases your risk and you lack a very important antioxidant. I tell people, ideally you don't take it every night, you take it every other night. You start out with 1 milligram. In young people, they really don't need it until they get to be about 30. They take 1 milligram, and then you go up to 3 milligrams by the time you're 50, sometimes 4, 5 milligrams by the time you're 60. If you wake up in the morning groggy, it's too much, okay? If you have wild dreams, it's too much. But a little melatonin is a good thing. Glutathione. Glutathione is the second most important antioxidant in your body. Glutathione helps clean your liver. It's one of the principal enzymes of detoxification in your body, and it's part of what your liver makes. Every cell in your body needs glutathione. Glutathione, there's a lot on the market. A lot of it doesn't do anything. It hits your stomach, it's gone. I brought you some glutathione lozenges, which are I've only recently been able to get them because a physician who dedicated his life to glutathione and making these lozenges was head of gastroenterology at Emory. I've finally been able to get him again. He's And there's another one that's coming out soon from the Physica line, which is going to be wrapped in a liposome in a way that it really works. Glutathione, very anti-aging, helps clean your liver, helps clean every cell in your body. Vitamin C, next, okay? Vitamin C, the more vitamin C you take, the better it is. And Linus Pauling was right. It's number one, vitamin C. If you don't have vitamin C, you can't make new collagen. And collagen's not just in your skin, it's in your joints. It's what keeps your kidneys. I was with a chiropractor the other day who was telling me about how kidneys fall. People who jog, their kidneys, because their collagen's not good, start sliding down to a certain degree. So vitamin C, very important, helps keep you from getting sick. Ideally, you take 4,000 milligrams a day, but in most vitamin C's, you have to have a special sort of vitamin C in order to do that it doesn't give you diarrhea. There's some vitamin C's that are out there on the market. If you can take at least 1,000 twice a day, it's good. But when you get the products that you're able to take 4,000 at least once a day, or if you're sick 4,000 twice a day, you'll see how it shortens, makes you get well much faster, helps keep you from getting sick. Everybody around you can be having the terrible flu and pneumonia and everything else, and you don't get sick, okay? So it's very instrumental with that and very anti-aging, good for every cell in your body. The other thing that I'm a huge fan of, which is one of the strongest ones, is turmeric, curcumin, okay? Turmeric, they're showing increasingly very anti-cancer. Cook with it, okay? Put it in your greens, put it on top of your broccoli, put it on your spinach, any sort of greens that you're cooking with olive oil. Garlic, same thing, very antiviral. But turmeric, everybody should take it. It's also, for anybody who has arthritis, it's very anti-pain, okay? Very anti-inflammatory. R-lipoic acid, same thing, and R-lipoic acid helps. It used to be alpha lipoic acid. There's alpha and there's R. R is stronger, but R-lipoic acid helps lower your blood sugar as well, helps clean your liver, very anti-aging, strong antioxidant. And those antioxidants all work together to make each other last longer. Okay? So that's sort of a good overview of antioxidants. Look, more is better. There's a whole bunch of them on the market. Some of the other things that would be really good for you to take is a stress B vitamin. B5 is very important for the adrenals, but all the B vitamins very important, okay? When you see older people who have low B12, it's not because they're smitten by God with low B12, it's because they don't have any hydrochloric acid in their stomach, and if you don't have any hydrochloric acid in your stomach, then you can't absorb the B12, okay? So if you get their hydrochloric acid right, they start absorbing the B12, and then they don't necessarily need those B12 shots, okay? But B vitamins, very important. Then, as far as going back and weaving it in with the supplements, food is your medicine. Broccoli, the cruciferous vegetables, Brussels sprouts, those things are full of a substance, a chemical called DIM, diindol methane. Anybody who's over 40 years old really should take DIM because it's very anti-breast and prostate cancer. What happens is we go down the path of life is estrogen, and in men and women, estrogen becomes more and more estrone. Estrone is more what causes breast cancer, and DIM helps keep estrone from being produced and makes it go to estriol. Estriol is the estrogen of young women. You can put it on your face, it'll tighten your skin, makes your skin look much better. It's well known to be anti-breast cancer, okay? So DIM, again, food is your medicine. Eat your cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, put turmeric on it, put some garlic on there. Garlic, for instance, if you start to get sick, garlic kills everything, okay? So I have my patients making garlic tea, eating a clove of garlic when they start to get a sore throat, and a lot of times you won't get sick after that, okay? So if you can't stand to eat the garlic, do a garlic tea because, and for children, a lot of times they'll do that. But it's better than virtually any antiviral, any antibiotic. So good for you, garlic. But So DIM is another thing that everybody should be taking to protect themselves, okay? And with those things, and minerals. Now, minerals just don't exist in our soil very much anymore. And every cell in your body needs minerals, okay? What are minerals? There's zinc, there's selenium. Selenium is essential for your thyroid to work. Magnesium. If you wake up in the middle of the night, you've got cramps in your legs or feet, you lack magnesium. Calcium, all those things are minerals. And so a multi-mineral is a very important thing to take. Look, I'm always looking for easier ways for people to do things because there's a lot of things we need to take, sadly, in today's world. And so soon on my website, I'm going to have a liquid mineral that's called Spectralite, because some people do better with liquids. They can put it in their water bottle, so you're layering your therapy. So when you're drinking your water, walking around with your water, you've got your minerals in there, okay? But magnesium, if there's nothing else you take, it's magnesium, because every cell in your body, virtually every chemical reaction in your body needs magnesium. I tell people you start off with like 200 milligrams once a day. Do it at bedtime, helps you sleep as well, relaxes your muscle. It's people who have muscle spasms, good for that. But then you go up to 200 twice a day. Too much magnesium, you get soft stools. Not enough, you get cramps. Okay, so dose yourself in between there. And be careful with mag citrate, because that will give you diarrhea in a flash. That's to clean you out. So your magnesiums should be chelated with a protein. But mag citrate is not a good choice, okay? So let's move on to hormones. Because I want to touch on this, because this is a big subject, and a subject that increasingly everybody, there's a huge amount of misunderstanding, a huge amount of misinformation about. Am I on target?
Yes.
So hormones, bioidentical hormones are in mimic nature dosing, are one of the most important things that you can do for yourself for quality longevity, okay? Here's a perfect example. I had a patient, lovely lady, who came to me recently who had been on synthetic hormones for many years. Luckily, she did not have breast cancer, okay? Now, why were the synthetic hormones bad? They so overdosed people. They didn't bind to the receptor right, and it was the overdose, the estrogenization, that basically was poisoning the system in many ways, okay? So nobody should be on synthetic hormones, nobody, okay? I care about you, you should not be on synthetic hormones. Bioidentical hormones, however, this lady had been on synthetic hormones. She finally, somebody told her that she got the message that, it wasn't a good thing. And she had a very old school doctor, and so she then went off of all hormones. She just decided it'd be better to go off everything. And so she came to me because she said, in the last year, she said, I have watched myself age so dramatically. She said, I can't remember anything. And this woman was a big businesswoman. I can't remember anything. My hair's fallen out. And she says, I have no energy. I feel so old. She said, I've just watched myself go downhill. She said, I want to go back on these synthetic hormones. I said, no, you can't go back on those synthetic hormones, but you can go on bioidentical hormones. And so bioidentical hormones, basically, and here's a couple of studies, they have shown definitively in the last couple of years. And remember that a lot of these studies are reinventing the wheel, because the Australians, the Europeans showed us this years ago, okay? But we reinvent the wheel on a regular basis in the world, especially in medicine. But they show definitively that if you don't treat women's estrogen, and understand you can't treat women's estrogen unless you're treating their progesterone, because it's in a ratio, I don't care whether you have a uterus or not, every cell in your body has a receptor for every hormone. And so uterus or no uterus, you've got to have progesterone if you have estrogen as well, okay? And so estrogen, they have shown definitively, as it goes downhill, your risk of Alzheimer's disease increases infinitesimally. And I will tell you that the U.S. government's involved in research to try to figure out how to estrogenize people without a downside, because we cannot afford the Alzheimer's epidemic that's coming in this country, okay? And it's not just estrogen, it's also the inflammation, because that's what deposits all the plaque in your brain basically as well. And with men, it's the same thing they've shown with testosterone, okay? So you want to treat your hormones. And so what are the hormones that really matter? And for energy, for brain power, it's just for everything, to be able to move around and dance till you fall over after a great party in the bed with your brain right and not having had joint replacements. That's also why you want to replace your hormones. So what hormones? Number one, and this is at every age. Remember I told you that babies now are born with these huge adrenal glands that sit on top of the kidneys. What comes out of those adrenal glands? DHEA, and you hear about that, okay, because we have to treat that as we go down the path of life. Aldosterone. People who have to go to the bathroom all the time or who crave salt, their aldosterone is low. Their estrogen's low too, but in younger people, people who say, oh, I crave salt, I've got to have some salt, their aldosterone's low. What they really need is potassium, another mineral, okay? So aldosterone's in there, and then epinephrine and norepinephrine, which is what balances your nervous system, basically, okay? And so the reason they're born is because the mothers are so depleted, and so we need to treat the mothers. And young people now are depleted. You see them, they come in, they're exhausted. How do you know if your adrenals are low? First of all, your hair in a lot of people starts to fall out. Epidemic of hair loss in the country, and in older, as we go down the path of life, okay, as we're not 21 anymore, but I see it in young people on a regular basis now. What makes your hair fall out? Low adrenals, first of all. Low thyroid, second of all, and low estrogen, third of all. Okay, you fix that and you can generally fix everybody's hair loss. But low adrenals, you wake up in the morning and you're exhausted. Those people who they can't get up in the morning, they're just exhausted in the morning. Generally, their cortisol, which is the number one hormone that comes out of there, cortisol is low, okay? So normally what wakes you up in the morning is your cortisol goes up, comes out of your adrenal glands, it wakes you up. Then as you go through the day, your cortisol, it pulses out during the day, and about 3 or 4 o'clock it starts going downhill because it's preparing you to go to sleep at night. Now there are those people who are exhausted in the morning, but as the afternoon goes on, they start getting revved up. About 4 o'clock, they will kill you for a nap, okay? But then about 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, they start revving up, and they don't want to go to bed till 1 or 2 o'clock. They're up on the computer, and they're doing everything, cleaning the house, everything. Their circadian rhythms are all mixed up. Their pineal gland's mixed up, but their cortisol is all mixed up. So their cortisol is really low in the morning. That's their nighttime. And then it starts rising in the evening, okay? And so their sleep cycle's not good, they're not going into REM sleep, and they're not renewing anything. And so they're aging much more quickly. If your cortisol's low, you see all these brown spots that people get as they go down the path of life, that's your liver, but it's also your adrenal glands. So if your cortisol's low, when, I make a loud noise or whatever, you jump. When somebody scares you too quickly, your hair is falling out, you're exhausted. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you're really exhausted. Even if you don't rev up in the evening, all of that is low adrenals. Virtually everybody in this country has low adrenals in today's world. So what you have to do is take replacement. First of all, it's sleeping. B vitamins, okay? But really, you just have to replace your adrenals in today's world. Harriet was fussing at me and said, why didn't you bring everybody adrenals? Well, because first you have to build the foundation, and then you start treating the adrenals. There are things that are called adaptogens that you take, and then there's adrenal replacement that you take. Those are supplements that you can get, okay? And how do you know it's working? You feel a lot better, energetic, your brain works better, you can handle stress more, you're happier, things don't bother you as much, you're just in a much better place. People will say to you, why are you so happy? And that's your adrenals, okay? And then comes the next hormones that generally go. First of all, there's your thyroid. Epidemic of a low thyroid in the world today. Part of it is because if the mother was low thyroid, then the baby's going to be low thyroid in perpetuity, okay? They didn't used to monitor people's thyroids when they were pregnant. Now they're doing it more and more. There's still people who don't. So I say to people, make sure your doctor is monitoring your thyroid and keeping it at a good level. They normally keep it at the level you came in. So if your thyroid was low when you came in, they're going to keep it at that same low level. So you want to have your thyroid better. Selenium, bio-omegas, and then the other thing is iodine, really good for the thyroid as well. Your immune system uses iodine to kill, and iodine's very antiviral as well, okay? So with thyroid, you're cold. People, they may exercise like crazy, and they still gain weight, okay? Or they can't lose any weight. Look, some people, there's all sorts of reasons that they struggle with their weight, and you may have their thyroid right, you may have everything right, and then generally it's some toxins that are deposited in there that you have to go in and try to pull off the fat, because fat is the great repository of toxins, okay? So weight is not all about thyroid, but you're cold in the afternoon, and this goes along with your adrenals as well, because your adrenals and your thyroid are best friends. You get really tired in the afternoon. You're too exhausted to go out in the evening. That's also your thyroid. You're losing your hair. People will tell you when they get stressed, when they wash their hair, they're losing a lot of hair. You have to look at their adrenals first, because you always have to fix the adrenals first, then you fix the thyroid, okay? Then the next hormones that usually go are either DHEA or progesterone. One of the things that a lot of doctors forget to treat is DHEA. DHEA comes out of your adrenals. If your cortisol's low, you're not going to make any DHEA, because DHEA is also made from your cortisol, okay? So it's anti-stress, pro-immune system, and anti-aging. And so people will tell you that when you replace their DHEA to a good level, they start to feel more energetic, okay? DHEA is also what it takes to make testosterone. Now, in women, and the next hormone to go is generally progesterone, okay? So I'll go back to testosterone. Progesterone's the next hormone that generally goes. So when women tell you they have heavy menstrual bleeding, their progesterone's low. Okay, in young women who have it, it's because their cortisol is low. Okay, sometimes it's their thyroid, but a lot of times it's their adrenals. But progesterone, heavy menstrual bleeding, heavy cramping, okay, and then when people start having sweats at night, that's low progesterone. Okay, progesterone helps you sleep. It's nature's tranquilizer. Men's progesterone gets low too, and that's when they get really hard to live with. And so I have a lot of women who rub a little progesterone on their husbands and say, here, honey, let me put this skin cream on you. And they get much easier to live with, okay? And so it's just one of those things. But men's progesterone, when men come in to have their hormones checked, I'm looking at their progesterone, their DHEA, their estrogen. A lot of doctors and men forget to look at their estrogen. Men's estrogen goes up. That's when they start to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. Their prostates get large. They have problems initiating their stream. And they're working their way to prostate cancer, basically, okay? So monitoring their PSA, et cetera, very important. Progesterone, very important. And then estrogen's usually the last one to go. Estrogen is generally when you have day sweats. If you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, every morning, your estrogen is low. Estrogen and progesterone have to be in a ratio, uterus or no uterus, because progesterone is very important for your bones. estrogen and progesterone, very important for your bones. Thyroid, important for your bones. Vitamin D, important for your bones. Omega's important for your bones. B vitamins, important for your bones, okay? And for your hair. And so then the other thing that's often forgotten about in women is testosterone. When women start, they just don't care. They just don't want to go out. They don't want to do anything. They lose their motivation. They don't have any energy no matter what. Their testosterone's low. And so you give them a little testosterone and they get back into the game. I mean, they've got energy. They get back their motivation. They get back their joy of living. Okay, does it increase your libido? Absolutely, but it also increases the collagen production, and it doesn't necessarily. It's not all about libido. There are plenty of women who have high testosterone, and it's not about their libido's low. Okay, because estrogen enters into that as well, and then psychology, nevertheless. But bioidentical hormones are very, very important. I have doctors who say, "Oh no, you know, after 60-something." You quit giving people hormones. Not unless you don't want to have quality longevity. So, look, we're programmed to live along to 100 and something. We were talking about this earlier, okay? So the bottom line is you want to continue your hormones. They really matter. And then skin, okay? One of the things everybody, and all the things that I've just told you about, from health comes beauty. Because I can do the world's best laser, I can give you the world's strongest skin products, peels, any and everything. But if there's no raw materials internally, then no matter what I do, you're going to get a fraction of the result, okay? And so I saw people early on when I went back to retrain, who we were doing all these strong procedures on, and they just got no result. People with rice paper skin, whatever, because they had no raw materials. It's like going in, tearing down the house, and having no bricks and mortar and no workers to rebuild the house, basically. So you've got to have those things internally. People come into my office and say, "Oh, I want this laser." First, there is a way that you have to go through it where you're not wasting your money overall. And you've got to ideally get right on the inside to a certain extent, okay? At least have some raw materials. And then skin products really matter, okay? I didn't make skin products simply because I wanted to put my name on something and make some money. I made skin products because my results, if I don't give people the best visible results, then they're not going to come to me, okay? I don't have any credibility, and plus, I couldn't live with people trusting me and not giving them the most. And so I needed them too. And my friends were trusting me to tell them what was the right thing to do. And so with skin products, there are certain things that really matter, no matter where you get them. Number one is do not buy skin products that have ingredients to avoid in them, because those ingredients to avoid are inflammatory, so they're aging you faster than life is. They're disrupting your hormones in many ways. On my website is a list of ingredients to avoid. Some of the big ones are the parabens, triethanolamine, propylene glycol, the ureas, mineral oils. You do not want to spend your money on things that are making you more toxic than life is, okay? Then the other thing is people were spending a lot of money and they were just moisturizing dead skin. And to me, that was just the greatest exercise in futility. So what are the things that really matter? Number one is, beside not spending your money on what inflames you more than life does, is number two, vitamin C. Vitamin C, you've got to take it internally, and you've got to put it on the surface of your skin. So why do you need to have vitamin C, and why do you need to put things on the surface of your skin if you're taking a big dose internally? Notice that as we go down the path of life, we all sort of yellow. We're not pink. We don't have this thick, juicy skin anymore. Number one, we don't have the thick, juicy skin because of hormones and also because our skin's trying to retire. We're not making hyaluronic acid because hormones are required in that as well, okay? And so that's why we're not thick and juicy. That's why we lose volume. So the other thing is we need to make collagen. We need to flog our skin to a certain extent to not retire. And we have to put things on the surface of the skin because we have very poor blood supply on the surface, and in most of our skin it's dying back. That's why we get yellow and why we're not pink anymore. So as you go down the path of life, you've got to put more things on the surface of your skin. Vitamin C, you put it on there because it forces new collagen production. Vitamin C, when it's present in high concentrations in the skin, it cross-links collagen, so it forces new collagen production, okay? So really important, and if you use the right one, you can use it once a day because it'll depot in the skin. Just that, a good vitamin C powder will knock back the length and depth of your lines anywhere from 30 to 50%, and you'll see it within days. Now, it's not going to knock it back 30 to 50% within days, but you'll see your skin start to have this glow. It's because it forces blood supply to a certain extent as well, okay? So you're thwarting your skin retiring. It's anti-inflammatory. People who have enlarged pores. Vitamin C is a natural antibiotic. So it kills bacteria, viruses, and fungus on the surface of the skin. So for acne, I use it tremendously instead of an antibiotic. Works better in my opinion and in my experience. But for enlarged pores, for scarring, for any sort of redness, rosacea, it's very anti-inflammatory, okay? So just that, I have people who come in with terrible rosacea, just that knocks back their rosacea a good 30 to 50%. Now I'm also getting them healthy inside, getting them alkalinized, anti-inflaming them, etc. And that's helping because they're not making more as I'm trying to fix it. So vitamin C. Number 2 is there comes a point in life everybody needs a form of vitamin A. Why? Because it penetrates more deeply. And vitamin A is either retinol, but it has to be a good, strong retinol that works, or retinoic acid, Retin-A, okay? Retin-A you want to use that doesn't have all the bad ingredients in the cream that the drug is dissolved in, okay? But Retin-A, very important. It slows down the clock. It forces new collagen production, but it needs vitamin C there to do it. Why do you use serums and antioxidants? Same reason you take them internally, because you've got to anti-inflame the surface of the skin, and those are the building blocks. That is feeding the skin what it needs to make everything, the cells work more substantially. I love to formulate, and I've been formulating a product recently. I've been doing some homework, and I'm overwhelmed with because I'm always looking for ingredients that, you know, what's the magic bullet? We're all looking for the magic bullet, okay, but I'm just afraid it doesn't exist. But the thing is, we have enzymes, there's so many factors at work in the extracellular space and the intracellular space and the cell membrane and getting things into the cell. All those things are, you've got to feed the skin everything it needs because everything works in concert. Okay? You have to exfoliate the skin correctly. I am not a microdermabrasion person, and the reason is if you look at the skin after it's been microdermabrated, it looks like the Rocky Mountains. As the skin duplicates itself, if you look at it under the microscope, it looks like the Rocky Mountains, and that makes the skin not have a sheen and be sort of coarse looking. Okay? It inflames the skin to a certain extent. You want to use a chemical exfoliant. Why to use that and Retin-A and vitamin C is because you've got everything at work that's making your skin run the marathon, which is the key. And what does that translate into? Lifting, tightening, anti-inflaming, less redness, smaller pore size. And if you've got pigment, there's nothing that can just go in and explode that pigment or dissolve it or make it go away, okay? So there's certain lasers that you can use, but you've got to use peels to exfoliate and exfoliate correctly. So with skin, and then you work up to stronger professional peels, and then you bring the lasers in, because what lasers do, Lasers basically work at the deeper levels that you will never get skin products, but only the right lasers. And so there are a lot of lasers on the market, okay, but the vast majority of lasers are not achieving your goal. And also with lasers, you want to use lasers that volumize, that thicken your skin. If what you're using, if number one, you don't see what it's doing, that it's thickening your skin, you see the results, and if when you go for a laser, you don't see your skin get thicker as well as tighter, then it's not anti-aging, because anti-aging is volumizing, thickening, as well as lifting and tightening.